Hello?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Citations. Outline. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. This famous mantra perfectly encapsulates the grace and power of Muhammad Ali. From his time inside the ring and outside, Ali leaves a lasting impression on us to this day. So today I'm going to be talking about Muhammad Ali. I'll start by talking about his early life and amateur career. Then I'll move on to his professional career. And finally, I'll talk about his involvement with civil rights. So, Muhammad Ali was born as Cassius Marcellus Clay in 1942 in Louisville, Kentucky. His father was a billboard painter and his mother was a domestic worker. Clay was first introduced to boxing when his bike got stolen. He reported the stolen bike to police officer and boxing coach Joe Martin. Muhammad Ali reportedly told Joe that he wanted to whoop whoever stole his bike. And Joe told him, well, you better learn how to fight. So with the help of Joe and other boxing coaches, Muhammad Ali adopted this style of grace, speed, and movement where people would almost describe him as dancing. And he used this style to go win 100 fights and lose only 5 in his amateur career. And in 1960, he won the gold medal in the Olympics. Later in 1960, he made his professional debut beating Tony Hansacker. While Clay's boxing was impressive, it was actually his charisma, his trash talking, and his interviews which really propelled his fame. As stated by Richard Hoffer in Muhammad Ali in 1942 to 2016, Clay's reputation was based more on poetry and predictions rather than performance. But it was the calculating application of this outrageousness that finally got him his first championship. So, Muhammad Ali was scheduled to fight against the current heavyweight title, who was Sonny Liston at that time. Sonny Liston was an impressive fighter. He was a heavyweight champion, and he had major favorite odds against Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a 7-1 underdog. So, when he did beat Sonny Liston by TKO, it came as a huge shock to the boxing world. It propelled Muhammad Ali straight into fandom, and after this fight, he would in the press conference, he would say that he was changing his name. So Muhammad Ali continued to dominate the heavyweight division until he was pitted up against rising star Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali had a very tense relationship and a bitter rivalry. It was only fueled more by their trash talking. Muhammad Ali was known to call Joe Frazier an Uncle Tom, an ugly bear, and this just made them resent each other all that much more. In their first fight, after a grueling 15 rounds, Joe Frazier won by unanimous decision. They fought 2 more times in the same grueling fashion in these 15-round fights, which Muhammad Ali won the next 2. One of their fights was even called the Fight of the Century. Muhammad Ali continued to dominate the heavyweight division, and he beat other rising superstars such as George Foreman, and he eventually ended his career with 56 wins and 5 losses. Tim Layden described Ali's style and career best, saying, "In the ring, he was transcendent. A fighter with a big man's power, a little man's speed, and a Renaissance painter's creative genius." While Ali had a great boxing career, he was also very involved in civil rights. His good friend, Malcolm X, convinced him to join the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam was a black nationalist group which favored segregation instead of integration of African Americans. He convinced Muhammad Ali to change his name at first to Cassius X and then eventually to Muhammad Ali. And the media and the public were not really favorable of the Nation of Islam, and it was a very hated group by white Americans. And this made Ali a target by fans and media alike. And tempers really got heated in 1967 when Muhammad Ali was drafted to fight in the Vietnam War. He refused to fight, and he got sentenced to 5 years and $10,000 fine. As David Hudson said in Understanding First Amendment Freedoms through the Remarkable Life of the Greatest Muhammad Ali, we all know the hero worship of Ali may not always been there. Instead, for years, many considered him the divisive symbol of evil or a traitor for his stand against military service during the Vietnam War. Muhammad Ali did appeal this decision to the Supreme Court, and he was also disbarred from boxing during this time. But when the media and the public's attention started going against the Vietnam War, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, and all the charges was dropped, and he was allowed to box again. So Ali's outspokenness inspired thousands of African Americans to stand up for themselves and to fight for civil rights themselves. He donated thousands of dollars to black communities and black colleges. He also spoke at many black colleges to inspire more African American youth. So, I just told you about some of the key moments in Muhammad Ali's life. I started by telling you about his early life and his amateur career. Then I told you about his professional career, and then I told you about some of the impacts he had on civil rights. So, Muhammad Ali was a very polarizing person during his time. He was not afraid to step on anyone's toes and always spoke his mind. His success in the boxing ring made him a legend, but his involvement in civil rights made him a national icon and a hero.